Now, before the show, I sent out a social media post stating that former President Donald Trump was responsible for the border crisis. Now, don't just take my word for it. Just ask Joe Biden.
The only reason the border is not secure is Donald Trump and his MAGA Republican friends. It's time for Republicans in the Congress to show a little courage, to show a little spine.
Actually, in a strange way, Biden's correct. It is Trump's fault, isn't it? Well, before you lose it and start breaking your television and smart devices, just indulge me a minute, just enough to explain. You see, in 2016, Donald Trump garnered more of the black vote than any other Republican in history. But more importantly, he planted seeds that have only continued to grow. He told black and Hispanic voters alike that they were being used for the last 60 or 70 years by the Democrats, and that things really couldn't get any worse, so why not give him a try?
Homicides are up nearly 50% in Washington, D.C., and more than 60% in Baltimore. And it's getting worse. So to the African American community and to the Hispanic community and voters, I say, what do you have to lose? Vote for Donald Trump. I will fix it. I will fix it.
Donald Trump was right. He promised economic opportunity, better education, and safer communities as his approach to providing a hand up, not a handout. He's talked to these impoverished and struggling communities in almost every blue city in America. Trump teamed up with smart conservatives like Senator Tim Scott and invested tens of millions of dollars in embattled neighborhoods, calling them opportunity zones. And then he topped it off with an economy that proved to have the highest wage increases among blacks, Latinos, and women in our nation's history. Now, some polls have recently shown Trump's increased his support with African-American electorate by as much as 20% more. In some states, he's leading among Latinos. So you see, therein lies the problem, and hence the blame. Trump gave minority voters hope and a real path through investment and education to succeed on their own merits and to take a good look at the past 70 years of broken promises and failed policies by the Democrats. Folks, the genie was out of the bottle. And while former President Obama and his cronies originally planned to use sleepy Joe Biden to get back the minority votes, after his 2020 campaign, they realized they couldn't earn them back when Joe Biden was out ruining their chances by saying things like this.
But I tell you, if you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, then you ain't black.
The Democrats realized they couldn't put the genie back in the bottle. They couldn't recapture the black and Hispanic voter base, at least at the levels they once enjoyed. So they simply decided to go out and find a new electorate. Under President Donald Trump's leadership, Republicans continue to eat away at the Democrats' election margins with minorities, especially young black men and legal Hispanic immigrants who've been working their tails off for years and barely are building their way towards the American dream. The answer to this quandary was obvious to the Dems. Have Joe Biden open the border and just let anyone in. Come one, come all. Let millions invade our country as rapidly and harshly as possible. Ensure they get used to government handouts. And then, when it becomes utterly untenable, Democrats bank on weak Republicans passing amnesty as a last resort to finally closing the border. The plan is simple. Everything you see, from Biden's encouragements to the surge at the border, from Mayorkas' agenda of non-enforcement to these blue state policies of handouts and de facto amnesty. This is all simply the answer to Trump's success. Now that the illegals are here, it goes to the next phase, getting them used to being dependent on the government for everything. It's basically welfare without the paperwork. Over the last few days, we're seeing increasingly absurd headlines about Democrats they're just openly stealing your taxpayer dollars.